There's plenty of business and money in this world for all the artists.
For everybody.
Plenty.
Yes.
It's limitless.
It's limitless.
You just gotta go get it.
This is the future of art.
The future of art.
Welcome everyone to the Future of Art podcast. I'm your host, Justin Wadlington. Today we have a very special guest in our presence. From being a walk-on football player for a Division I program at Temple University, becoming a full-time artist, from partnering with Brian Dawkins, Brandon Graham, Bo Nickel, Patrick Willis, Brad Lidge, Allen Iverson, to partnering with Fanatics Authentic, partnering with Golden Authentics to create an amazing 60-foot mural, to completing a 15-foot canvas that took 2 years to make, commemorating the full history of the Philadelphia Eagles. And on top of this, he's raised over $50,000 for charity throughout the years. Whew. Without further ado, I present to you Jordan Spector, also known as Spector Art. Welcome, Jordan.
Oof. Heck of an intro. I'm happy to be here, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Somebody asked me a question one time. I was like, so what do you do? Or tell us about yourself. And I kind of felt like that was, like, I don't want to say that, you know what I mean?
You want someone to speak for you.
Yeah, sometimes it's good for somebody to speak for you.
It's always better when it's coming from somebody else's perspective and mouth on
Exactly.
what it is you do or what you've accomplished. You know?
Yes. Hopefully we can get some sort of insight out of this at the end of the day, so we can all learn and grow as artists, because, you know, we are the future. We are the ancestors of, you know, the future. So it's imperative that we kind of leave some jewels and some game for them to, you know, pick up and take, you know, carry the torch.
Not just game, but some free game.
Free game.
Yes. Free game.
Yes, free game.
Sharing our journeys to becoming a full-time artist is nothing to be taken for granted.
Nothing to be taken for granted. I really wanted to start out by, you know, asking you about your football career. So tell us about your football career, and how did you manage to walk on and become a D1 athlete?
I actually grew up not a football fan, and it wasn't until I saw my cousin play the game of football, who was an incredible athlete, that inspired me to want to play the game of football. It was him and Brian Dawkins, I always say, are the two that inspired me to want to play the game. I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to be that dude making that hit or making that run, you know what I mean? So those are my first inspirations to want to be a football player, because growing up I played soccer, which is a pretty common.
That's football. Somewhere else.
That is the real football.
Yes.
Honest. But that was kind of my intro to the game of American football. And you know, I started playing ball when I was, I want to say 9 or 10, pound league, and just continued from there. And I would play backyard football with friends of mine and things of that nature. And I never really had anybody tell me if I was good or wasn't good. I had my own inner fire to be great, and I always felt like I had the athleticism to do it, or at least the speed to play running back. And I really didn't get that opportunity until I was a junior in high school.
So you were trying.
Yeah, I just worked my way up the ladder, you know, coming into high school and having whatever experience I had playing football, and I eventually became starting running back in high school.
Fire.
And I played both ways in high school. And I loved football. It really helped mold me into the man I am today. Just many different things you learn from that team sport that carry into real life. And also giving me confidence in life in a unique way. I think sports does that for a lot of kids that don't have an outlet, to give you a voice through your actions almost, if that makes sense. Then comes college, and my career trajectory was physical therapy, which is something I was always passionate about that too, because I got hurt playing football. I was introduced to physical therapy, which I thought was amazing. You know, you can help these athletes get back to the field, and there's a lot of joy in that. So that was the career path I took at Temple University. I got recruited by smaller schools to play football, decided to go the education route, school route. I wanted to be in the city, opportunities, blah, blah, blah. And man, the first fall came around with no football in 8-9 years, and I was like, man, this sucks. And I started eyeing up the guys who play on the team. Like, I can compete with these guys. Having these thoughts.
Having that itch. He was getting
having that itch, and
yes.
I actually met a group of guys, and one guy in particular who I was just texting today on the way here. He's one of my best friends now. His name's Graham, and he was training to walk onto the football team. And I didn't know that you can go to a tryout. Like, you just show up as a student. You gotta fill out a physical and stuff like that, but you can show up and try out for a Division I football program. So I met him, and through him trained with this gentleman for like 7-8 months leading up to the following season. And I was in the best shape of my life. I was benching like 335.
How old were you? Benching 335.
19, 20. What? Yeah, but I mean, and those cats that are recruited to D1, like they're doing more than that.
Let me just say, side note, when I was 20, I couldn't bench 90 pounds, no lie.
Really?
And you're out here benching what?
Yeah.
I probably couldn't even bench 335 right now, so that's amazing.
Well, the last time I got back to that weight, I tore my pec, so I'm never maxing out again. not full tear, not full tear.
Okay. All right.
But anyways, so yeah, I was running like 4.5 hand time. Like, I was in really good shape. And so I came into the tryout, which eventually came around, and I crushed the tryout. And it was surreal because I tried out, like, they basically treat you as a wide receiver. There's small guys and big guys, so all the small guys got to run routes, catch the ball, 4-yard dash, agility drills, all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm not a good receiver, but I came off as being this really athletic guy, so it all worked out. But I quickly switched to running back once I was on the team.
Got you.
But yeah, so it was just the bigger picture to it was you put in all this work and determination, and there was a lot of people that said, you're not going to make this Division I team. A lot of people thought that. Nope, I don't know anybody who actually thought I was going to make a Division I program like that route I was going. And I made it. It was crazy.
When did you know you made it? Like, I know you tried out.
So
you did it.
You try out, and then I want to say a couple days after, you get an email, whether you did or didn't make it.
So you opened that email
saying, congratulations. But then you gotta go back, and they run you through some very intense conditioning stuff.
Okay, like a combine kind of thing.
No, not like that. Just
in general. Okay.
They just bring you in, make sure you're in good enough shape,
Gotcha.
Run you through some stuff, and then in a week, I'm in pads. I got a locker in the facilities.
Amazing.
And
what?
It was crazy, man. I played 2 years there, and then I got hurt again. I got a concussion, not even in the season, in like spring football, which is like the off-season season. And that was always one of my biggest issues in high school was concussions. And a lot of players get concussions, but like it always concerned me, and I was more aware of it.
Yeah.
And I met with a doctor like any kid getting concussed would, and I told him how many concussions I've had. He's like, well, it wouldn't be a bad decision if you decided to walk away from the game as well. Save your brain health. You're not going to be at risk anymore.
Yes.
Things of that nature. So it was a super emotional time for me because of everything I'd been through to get there.
Yeah.
And as a walk-on, you really gotta put in your 3-4 years to be able to see the field.
Yes.
Because I hadn't been able to really start or play yet.
Yeah.
So.
Were you doing the sports therapy? What was it called again?
Physical therapy?
Yeah. Were you doing that while you were playing? Were you?
No, because you don't like
studies?
that was undergrad.
Okay.
Physical therapy is actually a graduate program.
Okay.
Really, like once you get to it.
That therapist mindset, was that kicking in any part of it?
Oh, a little bit for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you understand what was happening to you, like as it?
Yeah, I just knew the risks, and it's funny because back then was like right at the cusp of the knowledge and the research behind concussions becoming way more pronounced.
Yes.
And my senior year thesis, actually, I did a whole 20-page paper on concussions. And everything that was in that paper ended up being in a movie that came out with Will Smith called Concussion.
Yes.
And it was crazy. Not that they used my paper for the movie.
They might have, you never know.
But it was crazy. Like everything I had found, I saw it played out by Will Smith in this movie.
Crazy.
And it was scary because I know these guys still today that play in the NFL that I played with at Temple.
Yeah.
And every now and then I just, if I see them or if I'm in a conversation, I'll try to ask them like, hey, how are you doing? How's your head?
Yes.
You know, stuff like that. I think certain guys are just built different.
A lot of us fans, we're quick to commentate and say like, oh, this player should have did this and why didn't he do this? And it's like, when you just said you benched at the time you were benching 300 plus pounds. Some of these guys are like 300 plus pounds, benching 500,
Oh, yeah.
running 4 seconds at you.
I mean,
Like grown men, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have to do that every week and practicing that and get hit and then get up and shake it off and do it again. Like the mindset that you have to do to just be able to do that is like something that probably 99% of people could never
Yeah.
really understand. And I mean, you were out there, you know what I mean, to do that. So like, shout out to you, man, brave guy.
Yeah, I took some hits out there, man. Those are some big boys at that level.
Yes,
you got
yes.
some D linemen that are 300 plus.
Trying to make it to
Fast.
the NFL.
Yeah, and guys that I played with, like Hassan Reddick, who was a 14th pick overall, who incredible athlete. It was cool to see some guys that I played with. I was proud
Yes.
that I played with these guys, and now they're in the NFL. And
Amazing.
And that helps. That helped pivot into my art career too.
Yes.
Knowing those guys and them supporting me getting into art after I was done playing football.
What actually got you into art, and how was that transition from football to art? How did that work?
So prior to football, my other passion was art.
Okay.
Just by nature, by me enjoying it, by me being really good at it. It was a habit, you know, just creating art. Whether I'm in class, at school, doodling, or
Yes.
after school, whatever the case is, I've always done art.
Yes.
And I don't even have to think about it. It's just automatic.
Yes.
And a lot of that comes from my just God-given ability, and then my dad as well, a very talented artist who most of what I know, at least growing up as a kid, he taught me.
What's his name? What's your dad's name?
Ed.
Ed. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so
Shout out to Ed.
I always think of him as one of the most creative people I know because he's just so good at everything, sculpting, drawing, painting. He went to actual art school.
Okay.
And he was an industrial designer for like 10 plus years where he would design like toys that would make it like to the store, that would make it to market.
Okay. Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I always did art as a kid, always a hobby of mine, and I lost touch with that really because of football. And not that it was a bad thing, I was just that much more focused on football. So
Yes.
I didn't do art for, I want to say like at least 3 or 4 years. Last 2 years of football in high school, transitioning to college.
Yes.
So when I stopped playing, I needed like an outlet to still channel my passion for the game of football because it was
Yes.
so emotional for me to walk away from the game again.
Yeah.
So I naturally leaned back into art. But it was the first time that I was doing sports stuff because in high school, I never really did a lot of sports stuff.
Right.
But that was a fun way for me to be able to channel it. And then, business 101 or marketing 101, I made an Instagram, I made a Facebook page, and, I just started putting my work out there.
And this was in the college of Jordan Spector because you didn't learn that in college.
Yeah, this is probably like
Marketing 101, business, yeah.
This is in my own mind
Yes,
of, oh, that makes sense. Let me post this on this thing called Instagram.
Yes.
This is like 2014.
That was when all of this kind of was really just starting to
Yeah.
blossom, right? Instagram and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that was like a golden era for social media. So, I started doing that, and next thing you know, I'm doing art for some of the guys I played with, like I said. People are noticing what I'm doing. And it's funny to look back at that work because it's so bad compared to what I do now.
Yeah.
But even back then,
It's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, in my own
Relative.
perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I did want to ask you though, ironically, I remember many years ago when you worked with pastels on paper and things like that. So what actually inspired you to transition into other mediums?
Well, most of my life, I only ever did black and white, charcoal, pencil, for whatever reason.
Yes.
I did do a lot of watercolor painting as well in high school, and then I did dabble with some pastels.
Yeah.
I actually never did a lot of acrylic painting.
Okay.
And I decided that the black and white was getting old and kind of boring.
Yeah.
So I randomly, I can't remember what inspired me to do it, but I just started working in color. Yeah. And I found these pastel pencils, you know, because I'm so used to drawing with a pencil, opposed to the little chalky blocks of pastel, which are more messy.
Messy, yeah, super messy.
So I started using those, and I was like, man, like these are clean.
Yes.
You know, I can really blend with these really well.
Go
and
into the details.
And then I would work on different types of art paper, like what's the one called? It's like a really like velvety, soft touch paper, like Hannen Muhlenberg or something like that.
Okay.
So that was kind of like the first materials I was working on, and I tended to always do black backgrounds for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That was my thing, and yeah. So that
I remember that. I remember seeing a lot of black backgrounds in your work. Yeah.
So that was my first medium, was pastel pencil.
Yes.
And still doing a bit of the charcoal. Yeah, I did that for a while.
Epic.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And what do you like to work in now? Do you have different mediums that you like to work in now?
So I want to say probably maybe 3 years ago now, I was introduced to Procreate on the iPad.
Yes.
By another good painter friend of mine. Well, Chuck, you know Chuck.
Chuck Styles.
Chuck Styles, yeah.
Dope artist. Yes.
I started dabbling with digital stuff as well, just to get mock-ups done, and he put me on Procreate.
Got you.
And it was incredible, the capabilities with that, especially for me, because the transition from paper to that with a stencil was pretty easy because of my experience.
Yes.
Even to the point where you can get like a screen protector that feels like you're drawing on paper.
I've heard crazy things about Procreate.
Yeah. So I started messing with that, and that really opened up the door for me to just being able to be that much more creative.
Yes.
And being able to do a different medium of sorts, to be able to sometimes just mock something up at least, but whether it's a full-on project or just a design, it really allowed me to be more creative.
Yeah.
So I started working Procreate more and more since that point until today.
Yeah.
So especially like the trading cards I do, I usually will draw that out on Procreate. It's still all by hand, but it's on a digital surface opposed to paper.
Yeah.
But I still like to get my hands dirty as well.
Yes.
So I'll either do a full-on hand-painted piece, or like I did a mural last year. Was that last year? I think it was last year. Like a 40-foot outdoor exterior wall mural that was all hand-painted.
Crazy.
Versus everything digital.
Yeah.
So, or I'll do like part digital, get it on a canvas, add additional coats to it, acrylic or opaque paint, which I use sometimes.
Yeah.
And but I like to do both.
Yeah.
You know, and it was really nice, having done digital for a while, doing that mural that was hand painted, to get outdoors again. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
it's kind of dope that you experienced all these different elements, literally, outdoors, indoors, and just like what you said, I even black and white, pencil, after charcoal, did a lot of charcoal, a lot of pan pastel. After a while, you kind of, I know you said like you don't know what it was that kind of like inspired you to change that, but it's like a caterpillar coming out of the cocoon, you know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Butterfly with all the colors. It's like you want to see more colors, you want to do bigger things, you want to
I'm remembering that childhood book that's a caterpillar. I can't remember the name of it.
I can't remember. It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Wanting to just broaden your creativity. And luckily we're in like an era where like a lot of these tools and materials are like easily accessible. With the creation of social media, you get to see what's out there. Before social media, it was kind of like you had to see what was on TV or maybe a magazine, but now you get to see like there's billions of people that have different unique ways to create. And us artists, maybe we're under the same algorithm or something, but we get fueled by this creativity. It's kind of dope to see you, to know you branched out and you are still pushing the limits to what you do with these mediums. That's the one thing, is like the creation of it. But now, this is kind of like a twofold thing, because you were the one that introduced me to, so I was already doing prints prior, but then I remember I met you.
I always forget this,
I met you at Taki's, I've been Taki. Yep. He's another dope Philly artist, so Chuck Styles. I've been Taki, a lot of dope Philly artists. We were at his art show back in, like, I think 2016, 2017. Met you there, and so you were the only person to actually reach out to me after that about, you know, I remember you called me up like, yo, where do you get your prints from? And I was like, oh, I go to, you know, one of the art stores, one of the common art stores.
Blick.
Yeah, Blick. Yeah, I didn't want to say that. I don't
Shout
know.
out
You know,
Blick.
shout out Blick.
Blick.
I still get all my paint from Blick and my canvases and all that.
Yeah.
But man, they were charging me like an arm and a leg just to get a canvas. And then at that time, I was doing prints. And I think I was like one of the few people that was doing prints. Obviously, you were doing them. And even when I would, you know, paint an original and, you know, I would want to offer a print to someone, sometimes people would ask me, you know, how much was the print? And then I'd give them a price. And they thought I was kind of trying to rob them. But I'm like, man, Blick is charging me 90% of this price,
bro.
just to make the print. So the fact that you just can't, you know, hit me up and ask me, you know, where do you get your prints? And I told you, and he was like, no, I got a guy. Man, you know, the rest is history, you know what I'm saying? But man, you can't.
The rest is really history, bro.
Like that in itself is like why you my man forever, man. Because like that's a game changer, man. And I don't know how many artists that I've reached out to during those years to ask for advice, and for you to actually reach out to me was crazy. You know what I mean? That's like, a lot of times it's unheard of for like another artist to kind of like ask you, you know what I mean? You didn't say like, yo, you should get your prints from here. You asked me, where do I get them? And I definitely want to thank you for that. And prints have definitely helped my career as an artist. How have prints helped your career?
I think the bigger picture is that what kind of artist do you want to be? Do you want to wait 10 years for your art to be worth 100K?
Exactly.
Maybe never.
Exactly.
Or do you want to appeal to many different audiences? Because for me, and I've heard this many times throughout the years, people's first art purchase was my work, a print or a canvas, and I think that's amazing.
Amazing.
It's an introduction for them to the art world through my art, because they bought a $50 print.
Exactly.
Or a couple $100 canvas replica.
Right.
Like, I'd rather have my art on as many walls as I can,
Exactly.
opposed to the limited few who have all this money.
Exactly.
I don't like that idea, but I respect the heck out of artists who only sell to those buyers who are, you know, someone's like, damn, like, man, maybe I should just stop all this and just sell my work for $1 million each, you know.
But you got to get there, right? And that's not the only way is to do that.
Exactly. And you can't just snap your fingers and all of a sudden it's going to happen.
Exactly.
But even if that were the case, I still, just the way I am, I want to know that my work is on as many walls as it can be, you know. So being able to offer that, I think, is amazing.
Yes.
And I learned pretty early on that, like, if you really want to make it and you want to be able to do this for a living, you have to be able to have multiple products.
Exactly.
Original, limited, unlimited.
Yes.
So that started pretty early for me, and I'm glad I had the intuition to realize that, or just to see the process behind it.
Yes.
And then figure out, you know, okay, I made like a page on Etsy, Etsy.com, which we still have an account on Etsy to this day.
I think I got one that I never used.
Yeah, and it's not popping like it was when I first started.
Yes.
But that's because I made my own platform,
Yes.
my own website. The prints are a big part of the equation, especially when you're just starting out and you might find it hard to sell original work.
Yes.
You know, you got that option too. And the other thing too, mentally, that can really help is when you sell that first print or that first piece, it's a market approval, right?
Yes.
And in the business world, whatever product you're selling, like, as good as you think it is gonna be or could be, and I still go through this every time I release something.
Yes.
You don't know until somebody buys it, right?
And you don't know. I always say you don't really know until somebody outside of your family and friends buys it. Because you know, your friends and family will buy it, and you're like,
and they can continue to do that, but you got to expand out of that bubble.
The first stranger that buys it is like when you know. The
first stranger, and that'll give you that inner confidence, like, wow, like, all right, somebody likes my work, you know what I mean? And that's a special feeling. And I try to never take that for granted either, because somebody is spending their hard-earned money on something I created, which is what I love to do.
Yes.
So that's a big part of it as well. But to get to that point of feeling that boost of confidence, you've got the e-com world, which is it's more opportunistic than it's ever been to be able to be an artist or a creator, make a website, list your products, and start selling. Even if you want to start on a satellite platform like Etsy, which is where I started, which is a little easier because you got everything there. You just got to plug in the information.
And before you even start there, if you're 16 and you don't really have any money, just start with Instagram or one of these social media platforms and show proof of concept, or is that what it would be considered? You have say a 15-year-old wants to sell a little drawing that they made. Mm-hmm. They sell it to whoever wants to buy it and then ask that person to take a picture with it or something like that.
Yep.
Post it on their Instagram, and then all their following can see like, okay, my art is in demand. And you can build from there. So even before you get the website, that's another way.
Yeah,
right?
Just social proof, right?
Yeah,
social proof and getting that customer feedback, getting those testimonials of people that are buying your work, holding it, a video of them with it.
Yes.
It's still very commonplace in what I do today. Constantly getting that content, user-generated content is what I reference that being.
So we talked about the canvases. We talked about couple of things, but I never quite asked you, like, how did you transition into becoming a full-time artist? Like, how was that process? You went to the D1, you got injured, and you wanted to, find a segue in it, which was art.
Yep.
And you started to pursue that. So did you work? Did you have any jobs before that? And did you kind of balance that, or how did that work out?
So everything that we were just talking about of how to do the business side, that all was built over the years of when I started doing art again, figuring that out as I went along.
So did you know you wanted to become a business with this when you first started?
Not initially. I didn't envision how big it could be or the idea of being a full-time artist, like how consistent that could be or that could actually be reality.
Yes.
Until I started doing it more and more, and more people were buying my work, commissioning my work. And initially it wasn't all sports. I was doing all kinds of stuff just because I wanted to not only challenge myself, but just figure out what it is that I really enjoyed the most.
Yes.
And what I found I enjoyed the most was sports, because that's what I was passionate about. It was a way to channel my passion for the game still. Mm-hmm. And I kind of just went from there. And another piece to that puzzle, getting to the point of going full-time, is, at least for me, doing a lot of these outdoor shows, which we still do to this day.
Yes.
I have a team of guys who help run them now, but we do these outdoor shows where it's a 1-day, 2-day local pop-up. You get a 10 by 10 tent, you get some prints, you put them in a bin, you got a table. Now we have a much nicer setup, but you don't need a whole lot just to get out there.
Yes.
Have some pieces on an easel. You pay a fee to be a vendor at the show.
Yes.
That's another really great starting point for artists that just want to get their work out there, sell some pieces, and get that boost of confidence and know, okay, people are going to buy my work.
Yes.
That was another part of me getting to going full time.
Somebody would say, okay, I don't have any money for a fee to even do this at a thing. How did you get that income to do that?
So it was either coming from the mix of selling work, commission work, small prices here and there.
Okay,
small
so let's rewind. How'd you get your first sale? Like let's just for somebody to get to even understand, just as close to the beginning as possible of your first transaction that even led to that.
It's funny because there's no way to specifically go about it.
Yeah.
The most important is just getting your work out there.
Got you.
Getting your work out there, having social media, and being consistent.
Yes.
Keep creating, and the business is gonna come. It's gonna come.
And reinvest.
Yep.
So if you make some money, reinvest
and
it.
one of the hardest things for me still to this day is being patient with either opportunities that I think should happen, or clients that I think I should have.
Yes.
And just being patient. And it's always been a struggle for me. Mm-hmm. And another important thing, not comparing yourself to other artists.
For sure.
And not getting caught up in so-and-so having success or another person having success, because that'll tear you down.
For sure.
And it happens to all of us, because what you really should be doing is competing with yourself. And that's what I've always tried to do, is compete with myself. How can I level up against myself? So
And collab with people that's successful. I mean, like, or
collab,
not,
yeah.
like, instead of being resentful for somebody that you see doing well, maybe reach out to them, or maybe, you know, try to collab, and then your success could come through that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But so many people want to distance themselves from somebody that they see as competition instead of trying. But I get it. You know, sometimes, you know, like I said earlier, sometimes you do try to reach out to people and they kind of give you the cold shoulder, which sometimes might discourage you from reaching out again.
Yeah.
But like you said, just whatever you do, like you said, stay consistent, persistent. There's always people out there that you'll find that will be willing to, you know.
Yeah, because unless somebody's doing exactly what you're doing, which usually isn't the case because we're all our own creative person.
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of business and money in this world for all the artists.
For everybody.
Plenty.
Yes.
It's limitless.
It's limitless.
You just got to go get it.
Yes, yes.
You got to go get it. So
Yes.
that's the irony of when I see an artist or have an interaction with an artist that feels that way.
Yeah.
That's like guarded and like, oh, like I don't want this artist to take more business from me. It's like, it's like, yo, like if they take it from you, congratulate them because they did better than you.
Yeah.
That's the funny part.
Or like I sometimes like to reference like the NBA. Like there's LeBron James, but there's also Steph Curry. There's also Kevin Durant. They're all basketball players.
Yeah.
But they have their own following, and LeBron isn't afraid if Kevin Durant's in the same room as him, or LeBron introduces Kevin Durant to, you know, one of his, you know, investors or whatever. They're all trying to figure out how to work together to make the whole thing bigger. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you can be Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, and still it's still good. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You don't have to be afraid. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? It's an NBA full of. So if the artwork was the NBA, you can have all of these guys and y'all can talk to each other and be in the same room and tell somebody about this other artist, and it's all good.
There's way more to gain from each other than there is to lose.
Yes.
And that's how I've always looked at it. And again, I've always had the mindset of competing with myself.
Yes.
Because otherwise you'll get let down.
Yes, for sure.
But going back to the storyline of going full time, it didn't happen overnight.
Right.
And I pretty much supported myself through college, continuing to build the art brand and do everything I'm talking about.
Yes.
It was almost like, yes, it wasn't full time, but it felt full time because I was doing it with all my free time.
Yes.
And I had little side jobs here and there, which were mainly related to my career path of physical therapy.
Yeah.
So I made a little bit of money from that, but not a lot.
Yeah.
But I did both. And when I was done undergrad school, I actually took a year off to work more in a you know, normal hourly pay job.
Yes.
And continue to do the art and see if I felt like I could pull it off to go full time then, which I didn't end up doing. I ended up going back into grad school and got my doctorate in physical therapy.
Okay, flexing.
But you know, that, of course, throughout that process, as I continued doing the art still,
Yes.
it eventually got to the point when I was almost done grad school, it was starting to really take off. And of course, coincidentally, when I was done and was practicing for a little bit, it just took off. And that was 2019, going into 2020.
Wow.
So it was really ever since then that I haven't looked back. And
But the craziest thing is I've known you before 2019.
Longer than that, right?
And you've been doing it and,
I was already doing
having
it.
pop-ups.
People just didn't really know that I was in school as well.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it was two different lives that I was living.
I remember because you were really trying to push the therapy.
I mean,
thing,
man,
right?
I'm grinding today, I'm grinding always, but like I was grinding back then.
Yeah.
I was really getting after it with
Yes.
every ounce of energy and time that I had.
Yes.
And still having a social life in there
Yes.
somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just, it takes time and consistency with everything that we talked about.
Yes.
And yeah, so after school is really when I went full time, once it really took off going into
Gotcha.
2020, which going into 2020 came COVID, which actually was a silver lining for me.
Okay.
It was actually a silver lining, I think, for a lot of creatives.
Yes.
And if you had any sort of online business,
It
you
skyrocketed.
killed it.
Yeah.
You killed it.
Skyrocketed,
2020 was incredible
Yeah.
for anybody who had a website, anybody who had some sort of online presence.
Yes.
that really helped kickstart my online business and go from there. So yeah, I've just kept it going since then. Never looked back.
There's this like saying that I once heard Jay-Z mention it in a song, something along the lines of like the Red Queen's race. And it's this thing about Alice in Wonderland. There was a character in Alice in Wonderland called the Red Queen, and you would race her, but no matter how hard you ran, you could never win. She would always, beat you. And I think he says like something that's called the Red Queen's race. You work this hard just to stay in place. And I always, that line always stuck to me as well as I got older, because it put things into perspective about literally when you are trying to make it from zero or even in a negative, you actually have to run faster than your fastest, which doesn't really make sense. Like, how can you run faster than your fastest? But I always say it's like the whole concept of getting stronger. You know what I mean? Like the obstacles, they may change, but you have to get stronger and adapt to that. And no matter what you do, if you say, man, I'm trying my best, you gotta try harder. You gotta run faster. And whatever speed you're at, it's like you gotta kinda keep doing that until something works, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've kinda embodied that, if you, through the football, you want to, the teams and, trying to, with the walk on and then the concussions, it was like your mind kept forward thinking and kept running fast and kept doing this until this day. Because, I'll call you up asking you certain things and you're like, man, I'm doing this and that. And I'm just like, man, I see you here, I see you there. So it's like, you actually embody that mindset. And if anybody's listening, that's kind of what you have to do when you're pursuing something that's like, from the ground up. It's no way you can just jump into something and expect to just make a lot of money off the bat. I'm big on, I always say I get flack for this, but I'm big on like understanding the concept of even doing giveaways and things like that, because at the end of the day, you could save up money, physical money, to, let's just say you need a marketing budget of $1,000. And you say, I want to pay this person to promote my brand. In my mind, I'm like, okay, my artwork is worth $1,000. Maybe I can give this artwork away and this person can promote my brand. So now I'm not giving this person $1,000, but I'm giving them something that's worth $1,000 or more to promote my brand. So a lot of people will give me flack about, oh, it's giving it away for free. But in my mind, it's like, okay, maybe it's free, but it's also if I don't have any money, you know what I mean? So I just think that these kind of things are great. The things that you did to elevate yourself are like amazing. And yeah, man, and since we kind of understand some of your origin and what it took to get you into a full-time artist, I did want to ask you, you've done business with so many people, and I know it's probably hard to pick one, but who is your favorite athlete that you've collabed with? And how do these things even come about?
So the favorite athlete for me to work with, it's hard to say I get that. Actually, what I get more often is my favorite piece. But almost every piece has its own really cool story to it, of how it came about, who it was for, or like what came of it. So like, it's so hard for me to do that. I probably have pieces or collaborations that I'm most proud of. I think my most proud collaborations to this day still are with Brian Dawkins, just because of the beginning of our conversation, that he was one of my inspirations to play football. I don't ever like to call somebody an idol. I don't idolize people. I don't think that's proper. I like to say inspired, because he really did inspire me to want to play football. So just to be able to get to know him and learn from him as a person, as a man, and do business with him is incredible. And he actually, the first time that I met him, it led to me like getting connected with his wife, and then she coordinated with me flying this canvas down to Florida. We like met him in a parking lot. But I still have this video. I gotta go back and dig for it sometime. But I wanted him to talk about my painting. I said, go off the dome. Like, I don't want to give you a script. And And in what he said embodied exactly my slogan for my art business, which is art with energy.
Got you.
And I'm always trying to bring that energy to the art. And
Yes.
when he talked about my art in that moment, he said that. He said, this is art with energy. Like, you could feel the energy, you could feel the passion. So like, ever since that day, I was like, all right, this is gonna stay the slogan. So
how did you meet him? How did that go about for you meeting the first time?
It's crazy, man. We've crossed paths before, but I never had that direct connection to him.
Yeah.
And there was this event that somebody invited me to. It was a customer who bought a print of mine. They said they're getting it signed by Brian Dawkins. I was like, oh, where's this at? They invited me to the event.
Epic, yeah.
And it was like a private thing
Yes.
where the owner of the property ended up having me be like a vendor there to auction off some artwork to raise money, because part of it was for charity. And it just so happened that Brian Dawkins was there doing like a speaking engagement.
Right.
So I brought this massive canvas,
Got you.
which ended up being the backdrop for his thing.
Fire. See?
And so I connected with him through that, and then it took a while, but eventually I was able to go down, meet with him, get that to him. He still has it hanging in his office.
Fire. Even that mindset is things that people need to realize. Like those little, bringing the canvas down with no expectation.
Yeah.
Just constant leaps of faith.
Constant leaps of faith, and constantly, you got to be careful sometimes, but saying yes to a lot of opportunities. That has been a big thing for me from day one, is saying yes to a lot of opportunities that might not initially feel like, oh, this is going to be this important obligation, or this is going to be worth my time.
Yes.
But even to this day, I more often will be inclined to say yes to something just because I know that's how I got to where I am.
Yes.
By showing up.
Yes.
And sometimes making a sacrifice, because it could lead to an incredible connection or an incredible experience that you're going to learn a lot from.
For sure.
So that goes to show for that opportunity, because guess what?
Wow.
And we don't have to talk about it too much, but the owner of that property is the one who commissioned, to this day, my most proud painting ever.
Right.
Eagles Legacy on the Road to Victory, which you brought up in the beginning.
Crazy.
It's 15 feet.
Yes.
The
crazy.
same guy who had me come to his home, who I built a relationship with, he commissioned me to make that,
Yes.
which is really another project that put me on the map.
Off the segue of the Brian Dawkins thing.
Same Brian Dawkins opportunity led to that, led
See,
to all this stuff.
You see how that works, man?
Yeah. And so going back to him being my favorite athlete to collaborate with, I've done multiple additional projects with him.
Yes.
I'd say he's number one.
You know, many of us, we kind of want the biggest, we all chasing that win, that big win, that like, look at me, I did it, I made it. And in pursuit of that one win, a lot of people turn down or pass up the actual things that's going to help you get that big win. Because you don't get the big win in one swipe. It takes a lot of small moments to make those wins. And if you say no to everything, if you say no to having a festival, going out and being amongst the people, if you say no to doing this, if you say no to this, I'm waiting for Brian Dawkins to call me on the phone, and because he sees my mention on Instagram.
Yeah.
You might be waiting a very long time for that.
That ain't gonna happen.
You literally have to create small moment after small moment after small moment. You have to treat every small moment like it's a big moment. And go out and talk to these people and just believe in that it's, you know what I'm saying, what you were doing. And you never know, that one moment you could meet Brian Dawkins, meet his wife, have a phone call, and you could, and then actually while you're waiting, you could be working on another project. So you're not sitting by the phone waiting for Brian Dawkins' wife to call. You're still working on other projects, and then while you're drawing, you get a phone call like, "Oh, this is Brian Dawkins' wife."
Perfect.
And then now you're doing that, and then you got the other thing going on, and it's like you're creating this web of like possibilities, and like you said, relationships. You never know what can come from one thing to the next with just doing these like simple concepts. So so you met Brian Dawkins, you did that, you said you brought a print to him and he started speaking about it in a video, right? How did that work about? Did you give him the print or?
Yes, it wasn't a print. It was the original canvas I'd made, all decked out and stuff.
Crazy.
I brought it to him in Florida, and
as a gift.
As a gift,
See?
as a hey, like
Yes.
I really want to work with you. I want to build this relationship.
I look at it as
and
like an offering.
Yeah, and I want to work with you.
Yes,
you know what I
yes,
mean?
yes.
And eventually led to that happening because he
Epic.
was so wowed by the art and he was so appreciative of me coming all that way just to do that for him.
Yes.
And he respected me from that, you know?
That's
So
fire.
that led to that growth, that relationship. That was while I was still in school. That was before I was full time.
Crazy.
That was 6-7 years ago, man.
And you're still doing business with him. I'm seeing
still doing
ads.
business with him.
I don't know if it's because we're friends, but like every time I go on Facebook, it's a Spector art.
Man, you gotta go buy that. You gotta go buy that print, bro.
Sponsored ad, what?
You gotta go buy that print.
I got one of your. I got the card.
I know,
I
yeah,
got
you
the
got the
Immortals
card,
card.
yeah.
I bought I bought the card. You know what I mean? I'm supportive. You know what I mean? And I actually so I do want to ask you about the trading card business. And how did that even come about? You know, now you're into this sports world. I guess you've decided to. You know, I could even ask you. You know, at one point you kind of changed everything to Spector Sports Art because it wasn't necessarily like your thing in the beginning. I mean, maybe it was your thing, but to make that like the brand of what you were doing, you became Spector Sports Art, and then you eventually segued into trading cards and got into that space. So I want to know, like, can you explain a little bit of how that trading card business works?
Spector Sports Art has been my LLC for quite some time now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the umbrella. But starting in probably 2020, 2021, I started noticing these art card projects, especially from Topps.
Yes.
Even some friends of mine, they were including in their projects where they would commission artists like Chuck
I saw that.
to do some amazing artwork that goes on a card. I thought it was the coolest thing.
Yes.
The one part that sucked, I was like, man, when are they gonna hit me up?
Okay.
So I eventually built up this motivation
Yes.
to wanna do it myself. I was like, all right, well, they're not gonna hit me up.
Right.
I think I'm gonna do it myself.
You should know better than not to ask when they're gonna hit you up.
Right,
You gotta go
right.
out there and go
So
there.
I started to really dig into how that works and how you can make a trading card. Not just print a little card out of the regular printer, but like the legit card that is
Gotcha.
made like the professionals do it. You know, in the case, comes in a box, all that stuff. And I just was so motivated to create this experience behind it.
Yes.
And to also leverage these relationships I had built with athletes. So yeah, 2023, finally it got to the point where I was able to strike a deal with Brian Dawkins about how it would work.
Yes.
And I feel very grateful and blessed that he was willing to work with me, knowing this was my first ever card launch.
Yes.
And
Amazing.
trusting the vision and knowing how hard I work on this stuff. So, you know, I basically spent 3 to 4 months building the blueprint, you know. How do we get, because like I said, I wanted it to be an experience, so how do we get these custom boxes made?
Yes.
Who makes those? How do we get these cards made? Not just like a matte card, like a foil card, like
Right.
legit, like the good stuff.
Yes,
The
yes.
stuff that people love. And
Upper Deck, right? Do they make those?
Upper
hologram?
Deck, Topps, Panini, those are like the big dogs in the card world. And I love those companies too, like they paved the way.
Yes.
But I wanted to match the quality or even exceed it, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, I spent a long time putting that together and building this project with Brian Dawkins, and we launched in November 2023, first ever Immortals trading card. Immortals was the brand I came up with.
Fire.
For the trading cards,
Yes.
because that to me, I had a couple options. I was like, man, Immortals is the one.
It's an amazing name.
You know what I mean?
Legendary.
So he was for sure in my mind. He had to be the first one. My best relationship with any athlete, and one of the best Philly athletes of all time.
Best human. He's a dope human. As far as I know, you know him a little bit more personal,
No,
but he seems like a
he's
really
a great human, and
yes.
and he embodies a great mindset and approach that all athletes should have from the athlete to fan perspective, which is that he always views himself from his 16-year-old shoes.
Got you.
Which is that he always dreamed of people paying for his autograph.
Yes.
Of people always appreciating him
Yes.
as a player, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And he always tries to keep that mindset
Yes.
to stay humble and to
Yes.
treat everybody with respect. And you see it at events he's at, like like everybody has a great experience with him.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was the first card launch with him. It was a huge success. It sold out in about 45 days. We did 2,020 cards.
Wow.
And it was, I think, that was my biggest launch ever for my business as far as like a quantity standpoint goes, a revenue standpoint goes. It was huge.
Congratulations, man. A little
appreciate
toast to
it.
that, yes.
Yeah, so it was incredible, and you know, there's two sides to that. It's like, oh, this is great. How do I follow that up?
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes,
so,
yes. But with that mindset is also dope to have that. How do I top this?
yeah, because it's
gotta
like,
have
well, I
that.
got to keep it going.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Because it's funny, like as you do this, or at least from my mindset, like yes, like money's important, but you're
Yes.
also like trying to just grow
Yes.
and do better and better and better. It's
Yes.
it's not like, yes, the money just has to be there naturally. Like you got to be making money.
Yes.
But that growth and that willingness to one up the project before
Yes.
is always like the motivation.
I will say, not to cut you off, a wise man once told me that same exact thing. He said, you know, in order to be a professional artist, you have to make money. Like if you want to be an artist and just, you know, do it for the love and things like that, and just be a starving artist, then that's one thing. But if you want to consider yourself to be a professional, the definition of a professional is to get paid for what you're doing in a sense. So just for the artists out there that are struggling with, you know, their artistry and trying to, you know, keep it real in a sense, like you can keep it real, but also keep in mind that you can even help yourself by making money and pursuing a happy medium where you're not, you know, selling yourself out for money, but figuring out how you can use your skill to make you money, you know what I mean? And not just sit on it because you know, don't want to feel like you're selling out. So like the things you're saying are like really helpful, I believe, for a lot of people because all you're doing, it's not all you're doing because clearly you have a mindset. You had a mindset since high school to go out and get what you want in a sense. So that's the first thing anybody needs to know is like you need a mindset. And if you don't have it, you have to literally force yourself to have it. It's not going to just come out of thin air. You have to literally start day one, whether it's hitting the gym or doing something and saying like, okay, by the end of this time, I want to get to this point. And once I get to this point, I want to maintain this and exceed that. And then that's how it starts. But I do love that you're explaining these things that really, if people really listen, it's about your perseverance. It's about your willingness to do things that maybe others wouldn't do. It's your willingness to research how to do something. Because you know, even the fact that you said, okay, maybe I would like Wise and Tops reaching out to me. But at some point you said, okay, if they're not going to do it, I'll do it myself. And I'll figure it out how to do it. And then you never know. Tops might come to you tomorrow. Yep. You know what I mean? They might come to you after this podcast.
Hit me up. Come on now.
But I do want to ask, this is a little fun thing. You know, quick fun question. Who are your top 5 athletes of all time? And you can name an honorable mention as well.
All time, just all time.
Who are your all time?
Top 5 GOATs.
Give me your top five.
Because like
GOATs.
I think of an
GOATs.
athlete different than a GOAT.
Yeah.
Like Tom Brady is not one of the greatest athletes ever. But
he's a GOAT.
One of the most accomplished. He's
so
a GOAT.
Give me your top 5 GOATs and then give me your top 5 athletes.
All right. Top 5 GOATs, Tom Brady.
Okay.
MJ.
Okay.
It's hard for me not to say LeBron too.
Yeah, okay.
But
it's not hard. It shouldn't be hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So MJ, LeBron, like that's always a toss-up, honestly. But Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
Serena.
Okay.
Is that 5?
That's 5.
All right, hit 5.
That's a good 5. And this is GOATs.
This is GOATs.
Top 5 GOATs. And Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods. All right, we'll leave MJ in there. Throw Tiger Woods in there.
Don't take out LeBron though. So what about athletes? Because I know that's a little slightly different than GOATs.
Athletes.
So like freaks of nature, like people you've like seen and you're just like, man.
Yeah, well, one of them, I think it's going to continue from here on out, but Saquon Barkley, man.
Okay, he's in your top 5
He's
all
in my
time?
top 5
Okay.
all time. I played running back And I watched him play ever since Penn State.
Yes.
And even at Penn State, I was like, man, like this guy's like ridiculous. Like
Right.
he's like not human.
Backwards hurdling.
And then like from then till now, he's only gotten better.
Right.
It's like, how do you like, it's incredible to me how good of an athlete he is. And you know the strength behind it because you see all the viral stuff about his strength.
Yes.
And it all
Squatting
aligns.
like 600 or something
Yeah.
like that. I seen a stat that was like in the 6 years he was with the Giants, he had 10 120-yard rushing games, and he's had 10 this season with the Eagles.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted to make a point about that a while ago, is that's a testament in itself about like how your environment can impact your potential. So it's like that's another like gem probably. It's literally to do as much as possible to surround yourself with the right people.
Yep.
And if you can't, and Saquon is a perfect example of not being in the right environment for 6 years. He had to endure that, and with people not believing in what he was doing, and then somebody gave him a shot, and he took every opportunity. He did everything in his ability to make that opportunity like the most. So like, shout out to Saquon. Shout out to your, we didn't even talk about this amazing piece of artwork
Backwards
you did.
hurdle right there, man.
I love that you added the matrix code and these hidden symbols, reverse hurdle maneuver he did, this impossible, one of a kind, all time maneuver. I know where I was watching it, and I was just like, what just happened? And the fact that he reverse hurdled and then landed and then got another yard or two is actually what made it even like that much more amazing. So like, what was going through your mind when you first saw this amazing feat of
I was sitting with my girl,
Yeah.
who is so much fun to watch football with now because she understands the game.
Yeah.
She's taken the time to learn it from me.
Okay.
And being from Costa Rica, she
Yes.
has no idea what football is.
Okay.
So it's a lot of fun to be able to enjoy it with her. And in that moment, like, I was like, do you realize what just happened? Do you understand? Like, that is so hard. It's hard enough to hurdle over somebody forward. Having played running back.
Yes.
Because like everything's happening so fast when you're playing
Yes.
football. And to even think to go off your feet and jump over somebody is so hard. But to do that is unhuman.
Yes.
Like it's so hard.
And brave.
And
'Cause
brave.
Once you're in the air, anything can happen.
But he's just freestyling.
Yes,
That is his expression of freestyle, of artistry,
Yes.
which is so amazing because like
Yes.
he blacked out, he said.
Yes.
Like that's so crazy that like that's his blacking out on the
in the
field.
zone, yeah.
He's just
Purely in the
he's just
zone.
having fun.
Purely in the matrix.
He's just being the amazing God-given athlete that he is, and
Yes.
that was the absolute peak of that.
Yes.
So when I saw it happen, man, I was like, man, and you probably know this too, but like I know certain things are gonna hit when I've got 20, 30 people hit me up right away, like, yo, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this as an artist.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna do it.
Yes, yes.
And luckily, like, I get so excited when an idea comes to me so quickly. Because as soon as that happened, I saw, like, I forget, it was like a bigger post, like ESPN or something like that. Somebody said, like, straight out of the Matrix. And I saw that comment, I was like, yo.
I even put a matrix emoji under one of the Instagram influencers pages, like when Trinity kind of goes up like this and they like do the little 360 camera thing.
Yeah.
So I think like that algorithm of Matrix was definitely in play.
Yeah,
right
just
there,
man, I was like this is so Matrix-y because it
Yes.
was like it didn't look real.
It didn't look real
And
at
then when
all.
you saw the videos of the players on the field looking at it and their reactions, like
Yes.
everybody felt the same. Any
Yes.
human being looking at that is
we
just,
knew it was all time. Like
Yeah.
instantly, we knew it was like all time.
So I was able to, I made this pretty quickly because I had that vision right
Yes.
then and there.
Yeah.
And I worked nonstop for 5-6 days to make
Crazy.
it.
Yes.
But man, I one of my new proudest pieces, just because of how it turned out and how it ties together with the Matrix theme.
Yes.
The coding,
Yes.
transitioning from the body to the background, and like if you look at it, all the coding
Yes.
has significant words, letters, numbers in it.
I see.
And the title of the piece is The One, which if
Okay.
you know the Matrix,
Obviously, yes.
the one,
yes.
Neo, the one.
He's the one.
He's the
Saquon's
one.
Yes.
So and he's breaking out of the Matrix. So,
Yes.
but you can see in the letters it says The One. It says Saquon 26, 2024. Like the stats are in there too. So it just came together really, really nicely for me. I was in my zone after seeing him in his zone. You know what I mean? It was like, man.
It came out. It shows. It came out amazing. So, yo, have you ever seen the Animatrix, like the anime Matrix short films?
I think I saw part of it.
So there's like the Animatrix. There's like 6 or 7 like short films that kind of give you the backstory of how the Matrix even came about. I encourage everyone, if you can find it, there's this one short film in the Animatrix called World Record, where there's an athlete that kind of breaks out of the Matrix through athletic means.
Wow.
He's a track star that pretty much almost runs through the coding. So it's kind of like dope that this reminds me of that. Like Saquon is kind of like on this next level of like athleticism that the world is moving in slow motion, and he's just kind of like almost breaking out of the Matrix, like just through sheer determination. And I feel like we doing that too through this art thing, man. You know what I mean? Breaking the rules and changing the paradigm. Just run through your top 5 most athletic. You mentioned Saquon
Barkley.
Saquon Barkley,
Which I
number
think
1.
in 5-10 years, everybody will be like, all right, yes, he has locked that in.
Yes, lock that in, yes.
Let's see. I'm gonna have to go LeBron again.
Yes.
And he tops Michael Jordan on the all-time athlete list for me
Yeah.
because he was always somebody that I enjoyed watching. Like he was a big reason as to why I became more interested in basketball, because I didn't play basketball, so I'm not gonna be as interested in a sport that I didn't play.
Right.
So he as a kid was like one of the guys that I was like, man, like I can't not watch this guy.
And he's still doing it at 40.
He's still doing it at 40.
Basically the same stuff he was
doesn't
doing
even
at
make
20.
sense, bro.
It's insane.
So he's up
Okay,
there.
that's 2.
I'm a big UFC fan.
Okay.
So John Bones Jones,
Nice.
undisputed, never been beaten. He and his brothers
Over Silva? Over
Silva.
Anderson
Yeah.
Silva? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love Silva. I love Israel Adesanya.
He's
but
nice too, yeah.
John Bones Jones
Beast.
is number 1
Yes.
for a reason. And
Okay.
his brother's been in the NFL. So
Yeah.
you got an NFL player pretty much fighting in the UFC,
Dangerous.
but like clearly the best of the best.
Yes. Okay, that's 3.
3, let's see. I'm gonna have to go Calvin Johnson.
Okay. Megatron?
Megatron.
All right.
He, another guy that I just thought was ridiculous as a receiver.
Okay.
I'm trying to think who could be the last.
Megatron, the top 4 athletes all time? Top 5 in the top 5? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm probably missing.
What about like Bo Jackson and like guys like that?
You know what?
Like,
Okay.
And,
Bo Jackson would top him because
he's
of
kinda
his
crazy.
story.
Okay.
Of like he was a freak and
Yeah.
unfortunately got hurt early on, but he would have been like he was like Saquon. It sounded like
Crazy. Bo
never
was
got to
crazy.
watch him.
Bo
Really,
knows
but
everything, right? Bo knows baseball.
Yeah,
baby.
yeah I
Bo knows
gotta do a
football.
Bo knows piece, man.
Yeah, do a Bo knows piece.
Yeah.
Yes.
But another.
You heard it here first. Bo knows piece. Jordan Spector. You know what I mean? So,
Just because of the record, I want to say Usain Bolt.
I like that.
Still the
I like
fastest
that.
man in the world. I mean,
Yeah. If somebody breaks his record, it's I don't know. I don't see that happening anytime soon.
ridiculous, man. I ran track, and I think
Even
the
though
best.
Michael Johnson's pretty dope too. But go ahead.
Yeah, I ran track. I think the fastest I ever got was like 11.2.
Okay, that's fast. That's pretty fast for
Yeah,
normal.
that was in like
standards.
high school finals heat.
That's
you
real
know.
fast. 11.2 is pretty good.
But that was me chasing another guy that was faster than me. That I always got my best times, and I was trying to catch somebody else.
Let me just tell this quick story about since you brought that up. Shout out to Lenny Jordan, was my track coach. I ran track too when I was in high school, West Catholic, West Catholic High. It was so funny. One of the fastest guys on the team, one of my good friends, Jamal Huff, he actually didn't compete that day. So for the longest time, I ran the 400, and I always wanted to break 50 point for some reason. That was like the thing, 50 point. I was super skinny, so it was like
50's tough.
Yeah, 50's tough, but like, I don't know. My mind was like, I'm gonna get it. I see all these Huff doing it. Another guy, Abdul Cisse, R.I.P. He did it, and so my coach was like, okay, we're gonna put you in the first heat, but he was like, everybody on this team you should easily beat. It's like a cakewalk for you today. So on your mark, get set, go. I'm running fast. I'm running. I'm running as fast as I can. This guy's still in front of me. I'm like, what the? 300 meters in. I'm like mustering up all this energy. Running. I never get to beat this guy. He passes the finish line first. I pass it. I'm out of breath. I'm at the thing, and they were like, "Man, congratulations, man! You just like raced your fastest time ever." And the guy that we said was nobody, he's actually like one of the fastest guys like out here, and but he like tricked me. So me thinking I could beat him made me run faster than if he would have said like, "You probably not going to be able to beat this guy." So like I was trying to chase this guy down. And I think I might have run like a 51 or something, which is crazy, right?
Close. Like, you got close.
Got close, but that reverse psychology, I feel like that was like the ultimate. I'll never forget that. That was like a sneaky way of making me like run my fastest time ever.
Yeah.
So like shout out to Lenny Jordan for that little trick he did on me.
Yeah. We call that the rabbit.
The rabbit, okay.
Call that the rabbit.
But not the white rabbit like the Matrix, right? Follow the white rabbit.
Yeah,
maybe it is.
The white.
Yeah.
Applies to multiple parts of life.
Yes. Follow the rabbit. All right. So, where do you see your art heading in the future? And maybe I'll just finish that off with: are there any tips that you would like to give anyone out there who's looking for a starting point in this big universe we call art? So, where do you see your art? And then, if you could give any tips to anybody that
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to project where my art is gonna go or how big it'll be because I'm always exceeding things that I maybe thought couldn't happen or things that I'd never thought of in the first place. So
Yes.
I'm just gonna continue to work and try to one up every project, right?
Yes.
That's been a way of me to improve time over time, is just to compete with myself and just try to create the best artwork that I can.
Yes.
And hope that people appreciate it.
Yes.
But I do so the art, I think it's limitless, and I think the cards are limitless too, because there's so many ways that I can immortalize people that inspire us or that we look up to as athletes, as creators, as musicians, and I do plan to get into not only sports, but for the trading cards, doing potentially musicians and things of that nature.
For sure.
So I see that growing a lot. I even plan to potentially soon enough create like an artist collective where I can give these opportunities to other artists, kind of like Topps, and bring them into my Immortals trading card brand to do a one-off card project with another athlete or with a musician.
That's fire.
And grow that way, because we can only handle so much art in 1 year.
Exactly.
So if my hands are tied, but I got more opportunities, well, why not spread the love to other artists that are amazing, dope, do a good job? So I see a lot of growth potential in that.
It's a ton of artists out here that probably, like, with a mind like yours, you're probably good at direction, and a lot of artists. Maybe that's what they're lacking, is like the direction. They have the talent, they have the skills, but they might not necessarily have the direction. So that seems it is very dope of you to like even consider opening up a world where, a collective of artists that might lack direction or might need a little, landing place to, showcase what they can do. Yep. Your brand could, sports is one of the biggest things of all time. You know what I mean? So I'm really curious to see, what can come up that in the future, because that seems like a really dope lane for a lot of people to want to pursue, man. So shout out to that.
And hey, listen, stay tuned for maybe a Justin Wadlington Immortals trading card. You never know.
Yeah, that sounds
might have to loop you into that collective.
I'm down. I'm down for it, man. Like you've been a big help to me in many ways. You helped me set up my first website, my only website, honestly. the prints, things like that. We done did. Were you in the thing with Chuck had in Art Basel? Did you visit that, or you were actually had art there?
No, I never participated.
But you were down there.
Yeah,
I remember
was
that we were
there
in the
for
car
one,
with the
car garage.
Yeah,
Good
man.
times, man.
Good times, man. And you know, we have a mutual friend at AVO Art. Shout out to AVO Art. And any advice that you want to give to any artist, young, old, you know, aspiring?
I think two things that have always helped me grow are staying consistent. No matter if you don't know your direction yet, it's perfectly fine. Just keep creating. Keep creating art. Keep developing your skills. That's most important. You can build anything you want around that. Building your skills, being consistent. The other thing that helps me a lot just in life in general is focusing on what you can control. If you can just focus on what you can control, then you're going to be a lot less stressed and a lot less let down, because we can only control so much.
Yes.
The outcomes of things, how people treat us or view our artwork,
Yes.
you know. So those are two big things for me.
And I would like to piggyback on that and just say, like, bet on yourself. You know what I mean?
Bet on
like,
yourself.
Don't be afraid to bet on yourself. If the bet doesn't pay off, bet on yourself again.
Again. And again.
And keep betting. You know what I mean? And that any successful business will probably tell you that this is a forever thing. Fitness is a forever thing. All of this is a forever thing. And you kind of just, whatever you can do, just keep on betting on yourself, believing in yourself, knowing that this is going to pay off. But you have to know that the work that you're putting in is equal to what you want in return as well. Yep. So you can't expect to put in minimal and then receive a lot back. But if you know that you're putting in the right amount of work ethic, you're developing your skills and improving and evolving, and you can see yourself growing and doing things like that, then you should know, like, okay, you're on the right track. And then you should always kind of continue to bet on yourself.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yep.
And I did want to ask you one other thing about Philly art. You know, like what and sports art, and you know, what kind of got you motivated? What excites you? What motivates you to want to do Philly sports art amongst all the other art that you do?
Yeah, well, the Philly sports market is something that I've always naturally come back to. It's what I first started with my sports artwork, because I'm a fan of all the Philly teams, and that was an easy pivot for me.
Yes.
And not only am I grateful that I happen to live in Philly and am fans of those teams, but it just so happens to be one of the best, if not the best, sports market in the U.S.
Yes.
And that is a fact.
Yes.
That is a fact. When you look at the actual facts and stats behind it, or feel that way, it's the truth. It is one of the best sports markets in the U.S.
Best, passionate, super passionate.
Fans that are loyal.
Loyal, for sure.
Because we love our teams. We love our Eagles.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, shout out to Philly sports, for sure.
Go Birds.
Tell us about this Iverson collaboration. Like we really, I see you with AI, man. AI is one of the GOATs, and honestly, he could be very well in that top 5 for for pound for pound.
Man.
He's definitely like a force to be reckoned with, and he pretty much carried Philly on his shoulders for so long and so many years. And to see you kind of do a collaboration card with him is just like one of the most epic things I've seen. So, can you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah, so I mean, after that Brian Dawkins card in 2023, I just had these other opportunities line up, and that's really what I've been rolling with for my trading card brand, is whatever opportunities that I can acquire.
Yes.
And through a mutual connection, a guy who basically works with a lot of these athletes, he was able to connect me with Iverson,
Yes.
Introduce the idea,
Yes.
and then get after it from there.
That's
and
fire.
it was amazing because it actually led to us doing a whole event with Allen Iverson,
Crazy.
where basically a very good friend and customer of mine, he owns a big business in King of Prussia, a marble business.
Okay.
And his parents have this insane mansion out in Broomall area.
Okay.
And he's a huge Iverson fan. Like, he's collected Iverson cards his whole life. Like, he's a huge collection. And he said, listen, like, if you want to do an event, we can host it at their house, like, blah, blah, blah. Like,
that's fire.
This is a property that can fit 500-600 people.
Amazing.
And so that led, in less than 2 weeks, us putting together this exclusive Allen Iverson event. Come meet him.
Crazy.
You get a card coming to the event, all this stuff. And it was like another very proud moment for me, just being able to lean on all these different people that are the best at what they do. Because we brought on somebody for food, somebody for the bar and stuff, serving drinks.
Amazing.
Video team, all that stuff. So to have it all come together and for these people be some of their greatest nights ever, some people told me that.
Yes.
It was incredible.
Yes.
So we had the event, we had the card launch, and Iverson, man, he was well behaved and had a great time. And
shout out to AI.
and one thing I'll say about him is that he loves art. He loves creativity.
Yes.
Anytime I've put art in front of him, he's always wowed. And you see these little stories of him. He'll, like, if you come to a signing with like a really cool painting, he'll try to like take it from me, be like, yo, like, can I have this? Like, because he loves art like that.
Yes.
So I always love that passionate side to him.
That's dope.
So that was cool.
I used to work at a sports apparel shop. I might have told you this. It was called Total Sport.
Oh, yeah.
Back in like 2000, 2001. And I was kind of one of the customer service reps or whatever at the, what is it called? A sales rep.
Yeah.
And Iverson used to come in there all the time. This was on South Street. Anybody in Philly knows about Total Sport on South Street. They had the Mitchell & Ness fitteds. I see you got on the shout out to Mitchell & Ness. You got the jacket on. Mitchell & Ness fitteds. They had the throwback jerseys. Iverson came in there every week getting a jersey or a fitted hat. And I actually remember one time bringing a drawing that I did in high school, and he actually signed it. It kind of got water damaged. I'm kind of upset about it, but I actually still have it. He signed the chain on that thing. This was like 2001. And he always was a cool guy. I remember he tipped everybody that helped him with hats like $100 or something like that back then. So it's kind of cool to really see him still. I said this is 2001. It's 2025, and he's still helping and collaborating and doing things like that, man.
It's crazy.
So that's like a dope testament to what's going on out here with this in this world.
To his legacy.
To his legacy, and I do want to say that, to reiterate one more time, it's pretty epic about just how all of this started with you from, these leaps of faith with Brian Dawkins, going down there with the artwork, not knowing what would happen. And those things helps you get to this point, right? Because that proof of, okay, well, we got Dawkins to do this card. And then now you can show this like to any other athlete. Like if I could get Dawkins, if I could get Iverson, and now it becomes like so normal to, if you want to reach out to an athlete, that they see this proof of concept throughout all these things.
Yep. And
it all takes that one leap that could trickle down into this never-ending journey for you. So it's really dope to see this happening for you, and I truly believe like the best is yet to come. And that's saying something because you've done a lot. From the beginning, I named all these things you've done, and it seems like the legacy and the journey of Jordan Spector is just beginning. Thank you for coming out. It was a pleasure having you. I know you got a busy day ahead of you, busy schedule, and I'm grateful for you to stop by and talk to us here at the Future of Art podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, everybody.
Like and subscribe now. Right now.
Yes, yes.
This is the future.
Peace out. This is the future.
Philly green, going and knock out any team. Play hard and get the win by any means. And we need a trophy case on the mezzanine. Linebacker running in to hit 'em. 2025, a Philly green bowl.